She tried to announce her pregnancy at my wedding, but her husband had the mic first. From the outside, Jason's family seemed like the portrait of the American dream, two hardworking parents who immigrated to the United States and built a life for their two children in a modest home in suburban Ohio. But behind closed doors, the love was uneven, selective, and for Jason, painfully obvious. Jason had always been different from what his parents wanted. While his younger sister Brittany buried herself in textbooks and thrived under pressure, Jason lived for the thrill of high school debate tournaments and weekend coding hackathons. He was charismatic, a born leader, the kind of guy who could talk his way into or out of anything. But charisma didn't earn you gold stars on the fridge in his household. GPA did. His parents, first-generation Americans who had sacrificed everything to raise their kids in a better world, wanted results. Test scores. Ivy League dreams. Brittany gave them exactly what they asked for. Jason didn't. From the time he was 12, Jason knew where he stood. Brittany was the family gem, the perfect daughter. Every birthday, she got slumber parties, extravagant cakes, and shiny new gadgets. Jason? He got lectures. At one point, they told him if he wanted a party, he'd better earn it himself. So he stopped asking. I met Jason years later, when both of us worked in a gleaming tech complex outside of Columbus. Emily, was on the 9th floor at an urban planning firm. Jason was 2 levels down in a software startup that was trying to disrupt how cities use data. We met in the elevator, cliché, I know. And before long, we were staying late just to catch each other before the commute home. There was something steady and kind about Jason, the way he brought me a slice of cheesecake when I complained about cramps, or texted me affirmations before big meetings. I had grown up differently. My parents, both teachers at a local college, encouraged creativity. I majored in city development not because it was safe or lucrative, but because it sparked something in me. They supported it. They supported me. Always. Jason moved in with me after 8 months. It was easy. Natural. He cooked. I cleaned. He did laundry. I folded. His obsessive weekend deep cleaning ritual was oddly charming. The guy literally scheduled time to vacuum. But despite our harmony, there was a shadow we couldn't escape: Brittany. From the moment Jason mentioned her name, I felt something cold settle between us. His tone changed. His posture stiffened. She was a sore subject, a scar he'd stopped trying to explain. But the deeper we got, the more I needed to know. He told me how, when college time came, his parents dropped a bomb. They'd only pay tuition for one child. And that child was Brittany. No discussion. No hesitation. He could take out loans, they said. Figure it out. Be a man. Jason did. He landed scholarships, worked part-time, and graduated with a degree in software engineering. But when his parents tried to show up at his graduation, he told them not to bother. They cried, said they wanted to celebrate his moment. But he reminded them they'd never paid a dime for his education, and they didn't get to share in his success now. It was one of the rare moments Jason stood his ground. But it didn't last. Years passed. We settled into a life together. He kept minimal contact with his family, holidays, birthdays, nothing more. Until I came along. When he finally told them about me, they lit up. His mom, Jason's mom, immediately invited us to Sunday lunch. I was stunned. They were warm, curious, even respectful. I could feel them weighing me, and I could tell my background helped. I was educated, professional, and maybe, just maybe, they were trying to patch up years of neglect with sudden approval. Jason was cautious. I was hopeful. Then Brittany walked in. Before we go further, don't forget to like this story, hit subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss what happens next. She hadn't told anyone she was coming. Classic Brittany, apparently. The air shifted the moment she arrived. A breeze of condescension wrapped in polite smiles. She barely acknowledged Jason, instead directing her fake friendly energy at me. At first, she was sugary sweet, until my academic credentials came up. Then the sarcasm began. So, you're one of those tree killers? She asked, referring to my work in urban design. I mean, how does it feel to bulldoze communities in the name of progress? I blinked, laughed nervously. I like to think I help make cities more livable. Oh, sure, she said. Until the next round of overpriced condos wipes out another park. Jason stiffened beside me, but said nothing. Lunch went downhill from there. She disagreed with nearly everything I said. My choice in schools. My approach to planning. Even the dessert I brought. When the check arrived, she leaned in with a venom-laced smile and said, Emily should pay. After all, she's the reason we're all here. And she's got the money, right? Her parents were mortified. Jason's dad called her out immediately. His mom told her to shut it. Brittany stormed off in a dramatic huff, and I tried to pretend my stomach wasn't churning. That should have been the end of it. But she wasn't done. After that, she stalked my professional Instagram, sent a photo from my high school ex's Facebook to the family group chat, and made passive-aggressive jabs about my income and lifestyle. Every time she lashed out, Jason defended me, but it was clear Brittany wasn't just petty. She was threatened. It all boiled over one night when Jason clapped back harder than ever. She'd sent another snarky comment about my past, and he replied, "At least Emily makes 4 times what you do and doesn't live off our parents." Brittany left the group chat, called Jason screaming, cried, ranted. But that night, something changed. I saw Jason for who he really was, not just my partner, but someone brave enough to fight for the love he finally believed he deserved. But Brittany? Brittany wasn't done with us. Not even close. For a while after the group chat blowout, things got quiet. Too quiet. Brittany disappeared from every family gathering, skipped holidays, and stopped replying to messages from her parents. Part of me thought she had finally moved on, that maybe Jason's words had cut deep enough to make her retreat into her own life. But I should have known better. Silence from Brittany didn't mean peace. It meant strategy. A few months later, the news hit us like a freight train. Jason's parents called, voices trembling with a strange cocktail of disbelief and shame. Brittany had gotten married. Secretly. In Atlantic City. To a man none of them had ever met. His name was Logan, 13 years older, freshly divorced, and someone Brittany had apparently been dating for years. According to her parents, Brittany had never breathed a word about him. Not once. We Googled him. His LinkedIn was sparse, but Instagram told a louder story. Luxury watches, Tesla selfies, a wall of collectibles. Everything about Logan screamed midlife crisis with money. At first, I was stunned, then suspicious. Something about this man, his age, his silence, the timing, felt off. Still, Jason and I refrained from judging too harshly. Maybe she was finally trying to start over. Maybe marriage would mellow her out. Maybe she'd stop obsessing over us. Then came the message. It was late on a Thursday evening when I got a text from an unknown number. "I know I haven't been the nicest to you. I'd like to fix that. Can we have dinner this weekend? Just you, me, and Jason. I want to start over." Brittany. Jason read it over my shoulder. "She's up to something," he muttered. But I, naively, thought this was progress. People change, right? We accepted the invitation. Brittany sounded civil for the first time in forever. Logan even texted Jason to say he was looking forward to meeting him. I thought, maybe we were finally building a bridge. Maybe, against all odds, this was healing. Dinner at their home was bizarre. Logan greeted us like we were long-lost cousins. Their place was sleek, almost sterile, like it had been staged for a magazine shoot. Brittany had redecorated the entire home in white and beige, with a giant wine rack that screamed new money. We sat down for appetizers, and Logan quickly pulled Jason aside to show off his collection of vintage baseball cards. While the guys geeked out over sports memorabilia, Brittany poured me a glass of wine and curled her legs under her on the couch like we were old friends. Her smile was unsettling. "So," she started, "how's the whole tree-murdering business going?" I choked on my sip. She grinned. "Just kidding. I know you love that planner stuff." I forced a smile, already regretting every decision that had led me to this couch. Then she dropped the mask. "You changed him," she said, voice low, almost admiring. "He was always quiet. Passive. With you, he fights back." I blinked. Jason's always been strong. He just needed someone who believed in him. Brittany nodded. "I hated that about you. That he'd go low contact with us but make an effort for you. I was jealous. Still kind of am." She laughed, but there was no humor in it. I shifted in my seat, trying to be diplomatic. "I didn't come between anyone. He made his own decisions." "Sure," she said, sipping her wine. "But I never understood what he saw in someone who doesn't even want kids." I froze. Jason and I had discussed this topic early on. We were on the same page, no children. Not for us. We loved our life the way it was. But we hadn't shared that with anyone, especially not her. "How do you know that?" I asked cautiously. Brittany smirked. "Oh, I know things." Then she leaned in. "As a woman, it's her duty, you know? To give life. To carry the family. Otherwise, what's the point?" I stared at her. Was this dinner a trap? I cleared my throat, trying not to lash out. "Jason and I have talked about this. We're happy as we are. It's a mutual decision." Brittany's eyes widened in mock horror. "Oh no, you've infected him." She stood up and shouted for Jason, her voice turning shrill. The guys came rushing in, and Brittany immediately started on a tirade. She says she doesn't want kids. Can you believe that? How can you marry someone who won't carry your legacy? Jason blinked. "Are we seriously doing this?" You don't get it, she snapped. Mom and Dad would never support this. She's ruining everything. If you marry her, you'll kill this family. Jason laughed, loud, bold, and unapologetic. You are the reason I don't talk to Mom and Dad half the time, he said. You control everything. And guess what? I'm done letting you. She looked stunned. Logan just stood there, awkwardly sipping from his whiskey glass like he wanted to sink into the floor. I grabbed Jason's hand. Let's go. As we walked out, Brittany's voice followed us, screeching, defensive, laced with venom. You'll regret this. You're picking her over your family. Jason didn't even look back. In the car, I broke down. It was too much. The insults. The manipulation. The way she made me question our future. Do you want kids? I asked him, my voice cracking. He squeezed my hand and said, Emily, if I wanted something different, I wouldn't be with you. I love our life. I love you. And just like that, the tension in my chest finally loosened. But Brittany's voice still echoed in my head, like a storm gathering at the edge of our peace. She had declared war, and I had the sinking feeling that dinner was just her opening move. The first real crack in Brittany's perfect little world came on a Wednesday afternoon. Jason had called in sick to work. He was curled up on the couch with a migraine and a heating pad, and I decided to cook him his favorite meal, garlic butter salmon with honey-glazed carrots and a mountain of mashed potatoes. Only problem? We were out of half the ingredients. I grabbed my keys, promised I'd be quick, and drove off to the nearest grocery store. They didn't have what I needed, so I hit another one across town. The parking lot was busy. The plaza was familiar, a place I hadn't visited since grad school. That's when I saw her. Not Brittany exactly, not at first, but a flash of her hair through the window of a cafe 2 doors down. It was definitely her, sitting at a small table in the corner. But what made me freeze wasn't just her presence. It was the man she was with. It wasn't Logan. He was younger. Mid-30s, maybe. Messy brown hair, a relaxed hoodie, the kind of guy who didn't belong in Brittany's curated, white marble world. She was laughing. Giggling, actually. Her hand was resting on his. He leaned in and whispered something, and she tossed her head back like she was 17 again. Then he kissed her. It wasn't a goodbye kiss or a peck between friends. It was long, familiar, intimate. My stomach dropped. I ducked behind a parked SUV and stood there for a moment, stunned. The woman who had screamed at me about being unfit to carry her brother's legacy was sitting in public, kissing a man who wasn't her husband. A husband she had eloped with. A husband who still thought she was glowing with love. I didn't want to be involved. Truly. But then I remembered the look on Jason's face when he found out she was married. The effort Logan had made to host us for dinner. The way he had tried to hold that broken family together like it mattered. I pulled out my phone. 3 photos. From a distance. Blurry, but clear enough to identify her face in the man's profile. One showed them holding hands. One mid-laugh. And one the kiss. Then I turned and walked away. Back in the car, my hands trembled on the steering wheel. I drove home in silence. When I walked in, Jason was still lying on the couch, eyes closed. I set the groceries down slowly. He sat up. You okay? I swallowed. I saw your sister. He blinked. Where? At a cafe. Not with Logan. His eyebrows knit together. With who? I handed him my phone. He looked at the photos one by one. Slowly. Carefully. Then he leaned back. His face didn't change. But I knew him well enough to feel the storm coming. She's cheating on him. I nodded. Jason stood. Paced. Then sat again. We should tell him. Are you sure? I asked. This could explode. Jason's voice was calm but cold. If it were me, I'd want to know. We debated it all night. The risk. The drama. The potential for Brittany to completely unravel and blame us. But in the end, truth won. Jason called Logan the next day and asked to meet privately. They met at a bar across town. When Jason got back, I was sitting at the kitchen table, waiting. Well, I asked. Jason pulled out a chair and sat down. He didn't believe it. Not at first. What did you say? I showed him the pictures. He looked at them for a long time. Then he got really quiet. I nodded, heart pounding. And then, Jason continued. He said something I didn't expect. What? Jason looked me dead in the eye. He said Brittany's pregnant. I froze. What? They just found out. Apparently she hadn't told anyone yet. He was planning to surprise his parents. My stomach dropped. But now, Jason added, he's questioning everything. The dates. The symptoms. He didn't say it out loud, but I could see it in his face. What did he say after? Jason sighed. He thanked me. Told me not to tell Brittany anything. Said he'd take care of it. I leaned back, heart pounding. This is going to get ugly. Jason nodded. Yeah, but we're not the villains here. We sat in silence for a while, both processing. Neither of us knew what would happen next. But one thing was clear, whatever game Brittany had been playing, she had just lost control of it. I should have trusted my gut. When Jason's parents begged us to invite Brittany to our wedding, something inside me screamed no. But we were tired. Tired of arguing. Tired of being the villains in the family just for setting boundaries. His parents had insisted it would look bad if she wasn't there. She's still your sister, his mother said. This is your wedding day. Start fresh. Jason resisted at first. I backed him up. But eventually, exhaustion wore us down. Fine, Jason said. She can come. But if she pulls anything, I'm done. Forever. So we invited her. One single line on the RSVP, Brittany Carter plus guest, no bridesmaid role. No speech slot. No special treatment. Just a seat at the far end of the reception hall, far from us, far from the mic. And I took precautions. I told the DJ, if she tries to speak, cut the audio. I told my maid of honor, Amber, if she gets up, intercept. I even asked my cousin Ryan to keep an eye on her table. Just in case. Jason said I was being paranoid. I said I was being prepared. And thank God I was. The day of the wedding was a dream. Cool autumn air. Golden leaves drifting across the vineyard grounds. I walked down the aisle in a soft ivory dress, tears in my eyes as Jason waited under a wooden archway laced with eucalyptus and silk ribbon. We exchanged vows written on linen paper, sealed it with a kiss, and walked hand in hand through rows of cheering guests. My mom cried. Jason's dad actually smiled, a rare, genuine smile. For a while, it felt like everything would be okay. The ceremony passed. We took photos under the sunset. Guests moved inside for dinner and dancing. Jason gave a heartfelt speech. I thanked our families. Then it was time for the toasts. My father stood, glass in hand. His voice cracked as he talked about watching me grow into a woman. Jason's parents spoke next, awkwardly but kindly, clearly trying to balance pride with guilt. And then, the shift. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Brittany rise from her chair. She wasn't wearing white, but close. A pale champagne gown with sequins. Her makeup was flawless, but her expression was tight, calculated. She started walking toward the mic. I felt my chest tighten. Amber saw her too and moved fast. Brittany reached for the mic just as Jason's dad finished his speech. Amber stepped between them and smiled. I've got it. Thanks. Brittany hesitated, but smiled back. Too easily. I looked toward the DJ booth. Gave a subtle nod. The DJ cut the audio from Brittany's channel before she ever touched the microphone. Amber took the stage and started her toast, one we'd rehearsed. A story about college nights and wine-fueled crying sessions, followed by her love for Jason and me as a couple. Brittany hovered off stage like a ghost, mouth moving, no sound coming out. Then something snapped. She climbed onto a chair near her table, towering above the crowd, and shouted, I have something to say. The room went still. Amber froze mid-sentence. The guests turned, murmuring. I saw the DJ glance nervously in my direction. I'm not trying to ruin anything, Brittany continued, voice high and forced. I just want to share a moment with all of you. Since apparently, I wasn't allowed to speak. Jason stood, face like stone. I put a hand on his arm. I'm pregnant, she declared, arms wide like it was the climax of a movie. And I thought this would be the perfect time to share the joy. With family. With everyone I love. Awkward silence followed. A few gasps. Some stifled laughter. But mostly confusion. Brittany beamed, expecting applause. Expecting something. Instead, Jason's mother looked mortified. His father whispered something sharp to her. Brittany's smile faltered. Then Logan stood up. Until that moment, he had stayed seated, head bowed, face unreadable. Now he held the room's attention with one firm step forward. I didn't want to do this here, he said into the mic, but you've made it impossible to stay silent. Brittany turned, confused. Logan, what are you? He raised a hand. Yes, Brittany is pregnant. But no, I'm not the father. Dead silence. Someone dropped a fork. Logan looked around the room, his voice flat. We've only known about the pregnancy for a few weeks, but she's been seeing someone else for months. Kissing him in cafes while I was working. Lying to my face while pretending to be a devoted wife. Brittany's face went white. I have photos, Logan added, pulling out his phone. Taken by a friend. He turned the screen toward Jason's parents. Their faces twisted, disbelief turning into anger. Jason's mother closed her eyes. His father cursed under his breath. Brittany stared in shock. Frozen. Then she looked at me. Her expression twisted into fury. This is your fault, she screamed. You've hated me since day one. You set this up. Jason stepped between us. No one made you cheat, Brittany. You did that all by yourself. She shook her head, trembling. You manipulated everything. turned everyone against me. Even Logan. Actually, Logan said calmly. Emily didn't manipulate anything. She just showed me the truth. The air felt electric. And then, quietly but firmly, Jason looked Brittany in the eyes and said, "You're no longer part of my family. Get out." She stared at him like he'd slapped her. Tears welled in her eyes, but no one moved. No one stood up for her. Even her parents looked away. She turned and stormed out, Logan following behind, not to comfort her, but to make sure she left. And just like that, she was gone. The rest of the night was a blur. We danced. We smiled. But the buzz of the wedding had dimmed. People whispered. The betrayal had tainted the air. Still, Jason and I held each other close under the string lights, our champagne untouched. "I'm sorry it turned out like this," I said. He shook his head. "She did it to herself." I looked into his eyes. "Are we free now?" He smiled. "I think we finally are." But we weren't. Not yet. Because the next morning, I opened my inbox to an anonymous email. Subject line, "You think you've won." And inside, a message that made my blood run cold. "You ruined my life. I'm not done with you." Honeymoons are supposed to be peaceful. Quiet mornings. Coffee on balconies. A kind of soft, glowing numbness that lets you forget the real world exists. Ours should have been just that. A week in a small cabin in the Blue Ridge Mountains, no cell service, no distractions, just Jason and me. Instead, it started with a single line that shattered the illusion. "You think you've won." No sender name. No signature. Just that. Below it, a message typed in all lowercase, no punctuation, no warmth. "You ruined my life. I'm not done with you. I hope you're happy because when I'm finished you'll see what it's like to lose everything." I stared at the screen, my coffee turning cold. Jason walked into the room and stopped when he saw my face. "What is it?" I turned the laptop toward him. He read it once, jaw tightening, then read it again. "Brittany." "Of course," I said quietly. It wasn't just the words. It was the tone. That eerie, detached aggression she always wrapped in faux politeness when we used to argue, stripped bare. There was no mask left now. Just bitterness. Jason sat beside me and closed the laptop. "She's spiraling. She's threatening me." He nodded. "And she's not going to stop unless we make her." We forwarded the email to Logan. A few hours later, he replied, brief, professional. "Thanks for sending this. This will help with court." So that was happening. We hadn't spoken to Jason's parents since the wedding. We figured they needed time to process. But on the third night of our honeymoon, his mom called. Jason didn't want to answer. I did. He picked up. Her voice was shaky. I wanted to say I'm sorry." Jason didn't respond. "Your father and I, we had no idea it had gotten this bad. When she left the wedding, she told us it was all a setup, that you had humiliated her on purpose. But then Logan came by. He showed us the pictures. He told us what happened. We believe him." Jason's hand gripped the phone tighter. "And we told her she wasn't welcome in our home anymore. That stunned even me. She asked to move back in," his mother continued. "After Logan kicked her out. She said she had nowhere else to go. But we said no. We told her we won't reward this. Not anymore." Jason closed his eyes. "I'm not saying this to earn forgiveness," she said. "I just wanted you to know we see her clearly now. We're sorry we didn't sooner." It was the first honest thing she'd said to him in years. Jason nodded slowly. "I appreciate the call, but I don't know if that's enough." "I understand." They ended the call. No tears. No grand reconciliation. Just two adults speaking truths that came too late. When we got back from the honeymoon, Brittany was gone from everything. Blocked on socials. Removed from the family group chat. Her number erased from both our phones. For the first time in years, it felt quiet. Until the second email came. "Hope you sleep while knowing you broke this family the third. I lost everything because of you the fourth. You'll never be a real wife." I showed them all to Jason. He didn't say much, just collected them in a folder and forwarded each one to Logan and our lawyer, in case it escalated. And it did. A week later, Jason got a call from Logan. "She finally admitted it," he said. "She confessed everything. The affair. The baby not being mine. All of it." I sat down slowly. "What happens now?" "I'm filing for divorce," Logan said. "There's nothing left. And because we don't have kids, and she cheated, she doesn't get alimony." Jason exhaled. "Good. Thanks for telling me," Logan added. "I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes." When the call ended, we sat in silence again. "You think she'll come after us in person?" I asked. Jason shook his head. "No. I think she's finally burned every bridge. And yet, I still check the locks twice at night." Jason's parents came by the following weekend. They brought food. Apologized again. His mom cried. His dad looked like he'd aged 10 years since the wedding. They didn't talk about Brittany. They didn't need to. At one point, his mom whispered, "We just want to be part of your lives. Whatever you decide about her, we'll respect it." Jason looked at me, then looked at her. "If you ever try to bring her back into our lives again," he said calmly, "you won't be in them either." His father nodded. "Fair." And that was that. They hugged us. They left. And for once, it really felt like the war was over. But peace doesn't come easily when someone like Brittany is still out there, bitter, alone, and convinced that you took everything from her. Sometimes, I still check the inbox. Sometimes I still flinch when I see no subject. But Jason always reminds me. She didn't lose because we beat her. She lost because she built a world of lies and expected it to survive the truth. 8 months later, it was finally over. Brittany's name hadn't been spoken in our home for weeks. Not in passing, not in memory, not even in anger. And for the first time since I met Jason, her presence, the weight of her, was gone. Logan finalized the divorce 2 weeks ago. No court battle. No assets to split. Just a few cold signatures and a file stamp dissolved. He called Jason the next day. She admitted everything in the end, he said. Said it was all just physical. That she never planned to leave me. She thought she could manage both lives. I didn't know what to say to that. Who thinks like that? Who builds a life on betrayal and believes it won't collapse? Jason asked the only question that mattered. What about the baby? She's keeping it, Logan replied. The father, whoever he is, bailed the second she told him. Apparently, he was just a fling. She's on her own now. I felt a strange chill then. Not satisfaction. Not pity. Just emptiness. We asked Logan if he was okay. He paused, then said, "Better than I expected. I dodged a bullet, didn't I?" Jason nodded. "Yeah, you did." After that, Logan stayed in touch. Not often, but enough. He and Jason even hung out a few times on weekends. Played video games. Talked about anything but Brittany. It was oddly wholesome, two men bound by the wreckage of a manipulative woman, learning how to move forward. Jason's parents kept their word. No mention of her. No request for reconciliation. They came to dinner once a month. Sometimes they brought wine. Sometimes photos of Jason as a kid. His mom had softened, humbled by what had happened. His dad had grown quieter. We never asked if they were still in contact with Brittany, and they never volunteered. A few friends asked, now and then, how the sister-in-law situation had ended. We told them the truth. She got pregnant by another man, cheated on her husband, tried to steal our wedding spotlight. She's out of our lives now. The reaction was always the same, stunned silence, followed by, Jesus. But they stopped asking after that. Because there was nothing left to say, I kept the screenshots, the emails, the messages, in a digital folder named Closure. I never opened it again. Brittany never emailed me after the fourth message. Maybe she realized there was nothing left to threaten. Maybe Logan warned her. Maybe motherhood had forced her to sit in the silence she created. Or maybe, finally, the mask had cracked so deeply there was no one left behind it. One rainy evening, Jason and I were curled up on the couch watching a documentary when his phone buzzed. He checked it, stared for a second, then handed it to me. A photo. Brittany, holding a newborn in a hospital gown. No caption, no name, just the image. Jason stared at it for a long time, then hit delete. I leaned into him. You okay? Yeah, he said. She doesn't get to rewrite her story with us anymore. We never responded. Never heard from her again. A few weeks later, I walked past a toy store and paused in front of the window. There were soft pastel blankets, wooden animals on wheels, a mobile with tiny stars. It made me think about what she said that night at her house. You're wasting him. You're supposed to give him a legacy. As a woman, it's your duty. I stood there quietly, watching a mother walk by with her toddler in tow. They laughed. They stopped to point at something in the window, and I felt it, deep in my chest, the truth she never understood. Legacy isn't children. Legacy is peace. It's building a life that doesn't make you flinch when you open your inbox. It's waking up beside someone who makes you feel like enough. Every single day, it's knowing you chose joy and never letting anyone tear it away. Later that night, Jason and I stood on our apartment balcony, watching the city lights flicker like stars below. He wrapped his arms around me and whispered, "Do you realize we haven't said her name in over a month?" I smiled. Let's keep it that way. He kissed the top of my head, and for the first time since the day we met, we finally felt free. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear it too.